Scoopy and Reg.
You.
Everywhere you want to be. There goes that Snapchat. What's going on, everybody? It's another episode of Scoopy and Reg here in Newark, New Jersey, where we get it done. And in the studio right now, he needs too much of a formal introduction. He's local, but Hot 97's own DJ Drewski in the building.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for having me.
Of course,
No
man.
problem.
I love the atmosphere, too. This environment, this whole...
Yeah, it's dope.
people
Shout out to
walking
everybody
past.
at Equal Space for putting the space together. Shout out to our sponsors at Catalyst Case. Let me crack the water.
Buy water.
Buy it.
Auntie, I'm just now on that whole like pH balance water. I'm always behind on shit. The
Right.
pH balance water and all that.
Yeah, but my girl is heavy into it, and she tries to like get me. I'm like, just give me some water. It don't matter to me. So what's going on?
Working
Nothing
hard.
much.
Working hard, man. We tried to get you in here for a couple weeks. It's the new year. February is like the new January.
Yes.
January
was like
December.
a whole
The
year
trial.
in itself.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So the reason why we brought you in here, we cover everything from entertainment to sports to pop culture to business, electronics in between. You're an entrepreneur.
Right.
You actually, with the movement, have opened up an equal space opportunity for artists
Right.
to perform.
Yeah, I felt like it was missing on this end, especially in Jersey. Being so close to New York, being so close to Manhattan, everyone always felt and thought you had to go into the city
Yeah.
to, get those platforms or just be around certain people. As new artists growing up, as a DJ too, I always felt I have to go into the city to meet people, to grow, to become, grow my brand. And now I got to a point where I'm like, I can create my own platforms. Let me give back, but let me do it in places where people felt like they really didn't have that much opportunity. So I actually went back to my hood, like where I grew up in Elizabeth, and I opened up this event space. It's called the Movement Space, and it's just, inside we have conference rooms, we have green rooms where you can shoot stuff and bring your, startups and work out of there. We also have a recording studio in there, so if you're an artist that wants to come record, and then we have actual event space where we throw events. Shout out to DJ Tarzan, who's a mutual friend of ours.
Yes, sir.
He books the space out maybe once a month and does like these showcases where he invites indie artists to come up and perform. And on top of just performing, I invite industry professionals to come through and be there to observe, and if they like something, they can grab something and help blow the artist up, blow the brand up.
I think what's dope about that is it's not coming from somebody that's like outside the culture who's trying to like replicate something.
Right.
You're in it, so it's
Right.
like authentic versus somebody who's like, there's an opportunity here.
Yeah, it was never like a business venture. It's like I have the opportunity to do it. I actually do an event called Movement Mondays every Monday, right, for 2-3 hours of the night, and it's free. Like I don't make any money. It's like a non-profit basically, where I open the doors and just invite people to come up. And if you're an artist, you can perform. If you're selected, you can play your record. If you're a producer, whatever it is, and it's a free event. And I think people respected that, and it's turned into like this. People are waiting. Like if the doors open at 9:30, they're outside at like 8 o'clock waiting to get
That's
up.
Jordan release.
Yes, yes, basically.
DJ Drewski in with Scoopy and Reg. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at SoDrewski as well as Instagram. So Drewski, where did the name The Movement come from?
Oh, it actually started with my mentor, who was DJ Cypher Sounds at the time. For those who are listening that don't know, I'm a DJ radio host on Hot 97 in New York City, as well as did Love and Hip Hop New York on VH1. But when I started and I wanted to become a DJ, there was certain DJs I looked up to, and especially the ones on the radio. I grew up in Jersey, so I would listen to Hot 97. And I would study some of them, and Cypher Sounds was one that I'm like, he's a great DJ, but he also has a great personality and a great way of thinking. And so I kept running down on him. He was like a host of a MTV Countdown show, and I would go sit in the studio audience of the show, and on my way out, poke my head into the dressing room like, yo, Cypher, I'm a upcoming DJ. Let me hold you down. Let me intern for you. And after months of doing it, he finally like gave me the opportunity to intern. And just being around him and everything he had going on, I was able to create relationships and just learn and learn and learn. And, Cypher was the person that kind of put me on. Like, he gets credit for opening those doors. Now, I forgot what the question was, but...
The movement.
The movement, okay. So, after establishing myself, Cypher was like, yo, you're at a point where people respect you and you're in the streets and you're doing these clubs. I'm a little older now. I'm not into it. I don't want to be outside, but you are. So let's collaborate and create, music. Let's put out an album. Let's get all the artists in New York City and throw them on an album and get creatives working with one another. I'm like, all right, cool. What are we going to call these? Like, I don't know, what is some sort of movement. I'm like, boom, right there. Mm-hmm. So we're like, let's just call it the movement, and then we abbreviated it, and that's how it started. It was just going to be like a music project with a bunch of artists starting in New York City and just collaborating and creating like an album, and then it just turned into
because I can't tell you how many times someone will run up on me and it's like, yeah, bro, this is a movement. I'm like,
no.
I was like,
right. Everyone has a movement.
I was like, all right.
Yeah, I tell people that.
So the movement shuts the rest of that down.
Right.
So
yeah. No, that's fair, because I think that for me, I grew up on both sides of the river. Parents divorced, so my mom's from Harlem, dad's from Jersey, split time. And one of the things I tell family in Jersey is this: yo, if they haven't heard, like, they need to know you on both sides of the river,
1,000%,
and outside of just your neighborhood.
Right.
Do you feel like because you're a New York DJ and come from Jersey, you've had to? Do you feel like people? And because you're white, do you think?
Well, it starts there. Yeah.
How do you feel that do you think you've had it harder? How have you proven yourself? You think?
It didn't really hit me when I'm like young. Okay. Because I always we didn't grow up in that type of atmosphere. I grew up in Elizabeth, so it was like I was the minority in that sense. Sure. So it was like, but as a DJ and just playing music and I didn't realize till I got older. I'm like, wow, I'm getting booked and paid by black promoters or doing black parties or Latin parties. I'm like, they're accepting me in a sense, right? Because if I walk into a club and you don't know me, it's kind of like, can you entertain me in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. So, but it never really occurred to me till I got older. And at that point, I was already accepted everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, locally I'm good, right? Because now I'm co-signed, I'm on Hot 97, which represents something, and then all the street artists was like I have relationships with, so you get co-signed in the streets, and just outside of just artists, just like some of the people that ran the streets I'm cool with. So it's like I'm accepted there, but that's locally. So now I got to figure out how to do it bigger, and that's why I decided to do Love and Hip Hop, because now I'm on national television and more people get the exposure and they get to know me, and I always kept it real even on the show, as much as they try to write certain things in, but I was like, yo, this is who I am, this is the type of stuff I do, and you either accept me or you don't. But I think it gave me a platform, and then it just made it bigger. So now I can DJ outside of New York, and I just came back from Phoenix, and they booked me in Phoenix to come and DJ and perform. And it's like, wow, like it now it's occurring. Now it hits me like, damn, I've been accepted. Like, but I never thought about it. Not like that.
The thing that's funny is like, there was an interview the other day. It wasn't the other day, but Wale was on Breakfast Club, and he was basically saying when he came up, he felt like as a rapper he couldn't go to Walmart because like rappers don't go to Walmart. Right. You know what I mean? So we had this like whole mystique.
I love Walmart, by the way.
Yeah, Walmart's popping.
Cost effective.
Yeah. Write us a check. Like no more free drops. No more free drops. But now as a celebrity, exposures was cool. There used to be like this mystique where it's like being private and having that mystery. Right. But now you have guys like Will Smith. I know the minute Will Smith jumped on Instagram, I was like, all right, this is what it is now. You need social media to move people to go into movies, go into buy an album, so on and so forth, which is completely different than where we're at. So making the transition, was it like easy for you because you were younger coming up? Or?
Yeah, it was definitely easier. And it was something like I was actually more into it, being more tech savvy, being more social media savvy. It was easier for me, and I felt this is my lane. This is what I can, own because of, being younger and knowing the knowledge and the history. I knew that. So I was like, I'm going to take this with me and bring it in, and and keep a balance of it. Yeah, like I'm not like I never really jumped fully into like social media where I'm doing like comedy to get more popular, to get more DJ bookings. Yeah. Like not that. Yeah. Like it's not like,
because you're also young. Like when like, to use this example, like there's certain NBA guys that played in the 90s.
Right.
There's certain NBA players that played in the 90s, for example. Like name guys like John Starks or Kenny Anderson or Derek Coleman, who didn't have the benefit of a social media, but then a guy that's a 15th man off the bench can have 30,000 followers. So like for somebody like Will, like we know Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we know Enemy of the State. So for you being in your,
I think he needed that though.
I agree.
Will needed that. He wasn't selling movies like he used to.
But you know what that moment was like? When you go back in time 20 to 30 years from now, the moment that you talked about with Will Smith will be like the E.T. movie. And I'll tell you why. You know, E.T. was the first movie that used ad placements. Reese's Pieces, Pepsi.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
As well as Back to the Future.
Right.
And so I think when you look at social media nowadays, it's all about brand placement and who's going to cut a check. Cardi B proved that with Fashion Nova.
Right.
Because that's definitely me, my bad. So like there was a point where social media and like I would say reality TV was considered like where your career went to die. Like when you look at like Surreal Life and shit like that,
Right.
where people would, but then now it's, I mean, go ahead. But
No, I was gonna say it also sparked careers because if you look at like Jersey Shore, a lot of the cast of Jersey Shore was
still eating off
still. And
still.
they get, still like Pauly D is still getting big money to go.
Oh yeah,
They have a residency in Atlantic
AC,
City?
he's Vegas, like, and you know, and I'm a DJ, so that's something as like a business move you look up to, like, wow, like at the end of the day,
he's not a bad DJ though.
I never heard him play. You know,
I
live,
went to one of the events, like, because I was sort of
curious.
Jersey Shore dude, whatever, and then I got there, I was just like, it was kind of lit. It wasn't like. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like he's getting
commercialized. It was
based
like,
off the gimmick of So
and that was what, at least 10 years ago, that show.
Word.
And he's still getting bookings off of it. So it's like big money bookings. Like,
how hard is it to get a residency?
It's now a lot of it is based on popularity too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can be the greatest DJ technically, but if you're not popular, because I know DJs that I could sit here and just being humble, like, yo, they're better than me, but they just can't play certain rooms that I play, or
the draws.
The draws and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just based on popularity. And
it's, when you look at like The Rock and Kevin Hart, I think they're some of the first guys to basically monetize it in terms of their career and putting in their contract. They each get paid, I think, don't quote me on that, it might be bigger now, but when I last read, over $1 million just for posting on social media.
I'm sure,
and as a part of their movie contract. It's probably more now. But originally, like, it was like, it's in their contract. If you want me to post about the movie on my social,
that's a separate
That's
check.
a whole separate deal. That's a separate bag.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's influence.
That's the world of influence. Scoopy and Reg in the studio with Hot 97's DJ Drewski. Also, Love and Hip Hop's DJ Drewski. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at SoDrewski as well as Instagram. You, to me, are a fascinating story. Local guy, Love and Hip Hop, transferred to different things. When you look at, we had Tahiri in here recently.
Shout out to Tahiri, it's my homegirl.
Family. And we talked about the transition for people in general of the video vixen and as well as the social media model.
Right.
You mentioned something about DJs and popularity.
Right.
Do you feel like Instagram cheapens the quality of what a DJ actually does because of popularity?
Oh, yes,
That's a great
1,000%.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I feel it cheapens a lot of, talent. But yeah, like that's what I was saying. Like, I don't do comedy, right, in order to get DJ bookings. But there's people that will step out of just the craft of DJing. They're a DJ, but they start doing everything else to build that popularity.
Get the attention.
Yeah, so now they're funny, but that doesn't mean they're a good DJ. But because they have X amount of followers, people are booking them. So it takes away from, one, the craft of DJing, and then the people that DJ for real. You know, because now you got celebrity DJs. Like Wiz Khalifa's a DJ, and Snoop's a DJ, and Paris Hilton DJs.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, well, actually, he was a DJ before an actor.
Word?
Yes, he was
DJing.
DJing
I stand corrected.
before he was an actor.
Stone.
And he knows how to DJ. Yeah. There's another comedian that I think he's like Indian comedian. He's popular. Damn,
Aziz Ansari?
Not Aziz. Russell Peters.
Oh.
Are you familiar with Russell Peters?
Yeah.
He's a great DJ
Word?
too. But
that's what's up.
Yeah, but then he's also a great comedian. And I guess he figured, hey, I can sell out tours but he does both. Like, he'll DJ his own after parties after a big show.
The thing is crazy, like, my boys, like, a DJ, like old school, like, you know, records,
Vinyl,
all that.
DJ,
Yeah, he's a DJ, and it's like you get a little bit older, and then you don't want to be like that old dude that's complaining about like the new school.
Right.
But at the same time, as a DJ, I could understand the frustration of you got all your shit and all this stuff, and the dude shows up with a laptop and he's like,
Just
I'm a DJ, plugs in and then sets up a playlist.
It's horrible. I don't know about any other business like what you do in sports, but it's really bad. Where now not only are they coming in and just plugging up their computer saying they're a DJ, they're also like undercutting as far as like pricing and
Sure.
you know what I'm saying? So it hurts the business a little when it comes to that. But it's just figuring out, hey, it's not gonna change. You're gonna have to adjust to it, and you're gonna have to figure out your way and what makes you different, what sets you apart, and your skill.
My photographers complain about it.
Right.
Instagram,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
camera phones basically fucked up photography business.
For me, it's Twitter.
Twitter.
You can go on Twitter and say a source told you Anthony Davis is going to the Celtics, and if everybody retweets it, then this person gets put on blogs and gets. So it's like, for me, who has like 20 plus years in the industry, my foundations were in radio. You got people saying fake news all day, or you don't have any sources.
Right.
And the internet makes everybody think that they're journalists.
Where do you go to for like the real sports news, like for yourself? Yeah.
Outside of me being a journalist and a writer, where do I go?
Because the new generation is probably on Twitter, right? That's their source of information.
Twitter or Instagram.
But you doing, you have the knowledge. If someone is listening, like a young, millennial asking, so where should I go to? Like what?
I think these days, as much as mainstream news is considered trusted news,
right?
Some people get things wrong too. I think it's a matter of just vetting, and the problem with that is this: a lot of people don't read.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
If you're looking for your news in 140 characters, somebody could be lying to you. And I think depending on where you voted and all that other stuff, the term fake news became a thing.
Right.
And you realized if you believe in those conspiracy theories, that the internet hijacked the presidential election, if that's what you believe. So it's like you could use mainstream news to your advantage. What is real?
Sports is different than tech because, like, coming from like tech journalism, I think sports is like, you got to get the scoop like before anybody else.
Right.
And I think that's why people are getting shit wrong, because it's like I got to beat everybody.
They want to be
punch
first, so they can start creating.
Exactly. So they're not checking sources. They're like, yo, if we wait too long and we're spending too much time, somebody's going to drop it first, and everyone's going to pay attention to who dropped it. So we got to.
Yeah.
And it's about the headline. It's catching that people's attention.
And I think that you as a DJ, I think this brings up a valid point. I remember as a kid running home to listen to Hot 97 when Jay dropped Super Ugly.
Right.
Is there, other than back to back and Meek going back and forth with Drake, do you think you'll ever see a period like that again where people are running to the radio?
No, because the artists are just dropping it on their SoundCloud or before even artists that are signed to the label, right? They get to the point where they're like, because they're new young artists, they don't care about radio, they don't care about the label. They're like, fuck it, we're just gonna drop it here, like on my Instagram Live. So people are getting, like, they're not rushing to the radio because the artists are not even holding it to that point to give it to a radio DJ. So there's certain things like, that the younger generation, not that they don't care, they're just not aware of. Like, oh, it could make a bigger impact if I did it this way or that way. They're like, drop it right away. Instant gratification.
That leads me to a question, because I had Jesse Kirschenbaum, Jesse K, on last season of the CTN podcast, and we were talking about how relevant radio still is. Right. Versus, like, the internet and having things like, all right, there's my guy Amar, crazy late. Versus things like, the internet, like being able to go to a SoundCloud and discover the next big thing, because that's what I feel like it's about now. It's not like people really sitting and enjoying an album. It's like, how do I get to the newest thing first? I want to find out who's dropping the newest thing at the quickest. Like, I want to be on somebody before everyone else. So it's like we treat music different now. We used to enjoy it. Now it's like whoever beats whoever first to the information.
I think 444 gave folks a minute to sit back. And I think it's because of the 4th of July weekend, number one. And number two, he was saying some real shit.
Yeah, but it's also Hove, too.
True.
You know what I'm saying? It's different.
Yeah.
If you take a new artist that drops music, People are not sitting with it. They're not digesting it. They're on to the next thing the next day. But I still feel radio is important because, one, as long as we have cars and as long as it's free,
Definitely.
people are going to tune in, And then I also see something with radio, too, that, yes, you can get popping on SoundCloud, right? And you have now a bunch of SoundCloud streams and your social media following is going up. But it's not until radio, when you hit radio is when you start doing those big tours and touring nationally. I've seen it happen a lot. Even with like Chance the Rapper, he was so big on social media and in the social world, but it wasn't until he started getting records on radio where people would acknowledge him, and then he was doing Fetty. Yeah, Cardi. He came straight from the street, and then Cardi. Those are cases where she had a strong social media following, but once her record started hitting radio is when you seen okay, now she's getting awards, now she's doing tours now. So there's still the importance of radio, and I think people are going to continue listening as long as it's free, as long as we have it in cars and stuff like that.
Did you know that the newspaper didn't come out until 100 years after the printing press was made?
Wow, I didn't know that.
And so I think there's a point to that.
Right.
I think that a lot of times, as much as technology evolves, you still need the fundamental principles, the old school, in order to push it. You still need the machine. I guess that's what you're saying.
And people still want to be informed, as well as listen to good music. So they still tune into the radio to know what's going on around them. If you're in New York City, you want to know what's happening, and we're live on the radio. So when we get the information, you get it as a listener. So there's still that, want and need for that. You can plug in your Spotify, but you're just getting music. You're not informed about anything that's going on around you. I think certain people, they still like that, to know okay, there's someone on the radio that could tell me what's happening in the Bronx or happening in Brooklyn.
You're tuning in for the personalities.
Right.
You
and that too, you're right.
Do you think that Power 105's Breakfast Club changed the game of a DJ, as far as the DJ who became the radio host, and Envy, the guy who was the second in command to Wendy Williams and Charlamagne, and the one who was the manager and did PR with Yee? How did that change for people like yourself?
No, I think they just opened the doors for people like myself. But I've worked with both Envy when he was at Hot 97, and Angela Yee actually gave me not her, but she had a show called Lip Service on Shade 45, and that was my first board op job where I learned how to work the boards and engineer a show. But their personalities as well. She's great. They know how to do interviews and they know how to get the information. Charlamagne is good at entertaining you. So you know what I'm saying? It just opens the door for opportunities for other DJs and hosts to grow. It's more accepted. It's so big that, especially hip hop too, it's just not them. It's just hip hop is such a big genre of music and just impact on the culture that everything hip hop is now being accepted. So being a hip hop DJ, there's a lot more opportunities to grow, and being an entrepreneur, you just got to know how to flip it and hustle it. We come from hip hop, which is you got to have that hustler mentality. So there's so many opportunities, and people like myself and people like the Breakfast Club, we got to keep creating, new opportunities for people to the next generation.
As your career gets bigger and bigger, is it harder to stay neutral in situations? Basically, for example, if you have an artist that you're cool with and is a friend of yours and you see him come up, and then someone who they may have a problem with comes to the station, is it weird or are you Switzerland the whole time?
Drink water before he answers
that. Or are you able to stay out of it? I know sometimes there's friction between shows and stations.
Nah, I'm able to stay out of it. I will acknowledge it so they know that I'm aware of what's going on. I'm not lost. I'll acknowledge it, but it's based on a person. If you don't pick a side, you really can't get into any type of mix. But even with artists, I'll acknowledge it. I know you're not really feeling this person, but it's about you today. Let's talk about you, or let's, it's about you. You know what I'm saying? So it's on you, really. It's not on me. I'm gonna let you know. I know what's going on. If you want to talk about it, then we can talk about it. But I just keep it I'm open-minded about it.
Because really. I feel even though hip hop's this big international thing now, right?
Right.
I think when we're talking about New York hip hop or hip hop station and so on and so forth, it's it's like so few of us where I feel like splits in the culture don't really help anybody.
It never does, but it comes with the territory in a sense. Like, you're talking about a aggressive genre of music and the
Word.
players. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's sort of like sports. Like, yeah, they're gonna be aggressive, even though we're all part of the league and we all came from nothing, and now we got we're in the league and we're successful. But there's still like competition within it.
And
so
money in contracts.
right, and that too.
Money,
like you have to perform. You have to hit certain goals. Like, so you can't let no one stop you, but you can't be soft at the same time.
But
DJ Drewski here, Scoopy there, Reg right here. You we talked about love and hip hop. For you, I did some homework.
Okay.
And a buddy of mine worked at a nightclub at Parlay in New Brunswick.
Yes.
And he worked security. He told me that one time you were at the door and they weren't letting you in. It was just early on, years ago.
Okay.
Since you've done the television show, do you find that you're overexposed? What's the craziest place that someone has ever recognized you and you're like, bro, leave me alone?
It happens so often, so now I can't even remember. But and it's never a leave me alone reaction. Like, I understand because I'm a fan. I was a fan too of like certain people, and
Sure.
so I never have like a leave me alone. I appreciate all the love. Like 99% of my interactions on the street, right? Because people will hate on social media, but they never show their face. But like, just it's like 99% has just been love. Like, I never had no one try to come and check me or press me, and especially in places I'm at. I could be in the hood, and it's always love. So I always appreciate it. But I'm trying to think. There's always like random places. Like, I could be at like a hibachi restaurant, and it's like a 50-year-old white woman that you would never expect.
That's dope.
And then low key she'll be like, hey, are you, like, I could be with my fiance, like, are you, yeah, I knew it was you too. And she's telling us like stories, and she follows my fiance. So it's like random places. Like, even I went to the Devils game, right? So you go, it's majority's like white older people in there. And there's people in there that'll be like, oh, what's up, DJ Drewski? And like, how the hell? Like,
my mother sneak watches Love and Hip Hop.
Right.
I'll catch her on the low, like, you watching Love and Hip Hop? Nah, like, the station just there.
And the thing with that is it's crazy because you'll have, like, I'll say I'm in the mall. I'll go to the mall. You got like a 2-3-year-old up to the grandparents that watch the show. So the little girl run up and say like, hey DJ Drewski. Now the grandmother comes and she feels like she knows who I am. So the range is insane with shows like that, which it's good too for the family because there's something they can all. Nah, I'm trying to think of not really. Like, I never felt uncomfortable or in a place. Maybe if I go to like a doctor's office or dentist, you know what I'm saying, and then the
that'd be
front
weird.
desk, the girls or the assistants, they know who we are. But I'm like, okay, cool. I can't help it. I can't fight it. So me thinking like, hip hop, how do I flip this? Can I get a discount out of it? You know what I'm saying?
Word.
I'll post the doctor on my social media for a free root canal. Like, you know what I'm saying? So we embrace it and then just try to make the best of it. But going into it, I already knew what it was. I was around people like Cypher, who was on television. I was sitting next to Angie Martinez for 5 years, just learning from her. But outside of the radio, the stuff she was doing and the reaction it caused and the attention she got. So I was already aware of what was going to happen, and I was friends with like Tahiri, who already did, her episodes. Love it. So it wasn't like shocking to me. Like, I already knew it was going to come. That's why when I got on the show, I felt like I don't got to do anything crazy. I'm going to be myself because outside of the show, I got to interact with people. I'm still a DJ. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go extreme and do crazy shit because then that's how you're treated when you step out. So I think the person you seen on TV is the same person you see when I'm in the mall or in the doctor's office. So, you know what I'm saying? It was.
Are you more conscious of what you say and how you dress based upon now of, I guess, the overexposure, people know who you are?
Never dress, but I never want to say anything to offend people because now I know there's more people
The
listening.
PC police.
Yeah, so it's like that's really it. Social media, I don't go off because, you know, they can take words and flip it and change. So as far as dressing, I'm a guy, so to us, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And I'm in a sweatsuit right now, like I don't care. But I never want to say anything that gets taken out of context and someone's offended by it. So now I'm more, you know, cautious of how I
I'm about
say
to be
things.
like, speaking of offending people, how do you feel about?
You know, we talked about him. We ain't talk about no music.
who you feeling right now? Who you feeling right now?
Let's the DJ is the person who conveys the message. You talked about Cypher being a person who influenced you.
Right.
In basketball, I often ask guys, you know, who influenced them. You can say Kobe was influenced by Michael. He copied Mike. I disagree. You look at LeBron. You know, there's parts of Barkley's game, there's parts of Penny's game, there's parts of Michael's game. For you, who were, other than Cypher, name your top 5 DJs that influenced you.
As far as DJ influences, I was always intrigued by like the radio, right? So it was always like radio, like Flex, not just being a DJ, but an entrepreneur and what he did for hip hop. It's crazy. And like you said, oh, you get older. As old as he is, he's still killing it. Like he's still up there. Like there's no one that really can compete with him. So just his love for, you know, the music and the DJing game and radio game. Because there's radio DJs and there's like club DJs, there's event, you know what I'm saying? It's broken down. Some people they're not even aware of it. But there's DJs that are great on the radio, and then there's some that are just great in the club that really can't play radio because it's 2 different fields. But Flex, Mr. C, his knowledge of music, his history with the, you know, with hip hop and just the people like he came up with and the artists he was finding and breaking, like Biggie. Like if it wasn't for like, C played a big part of Biggie Smalls, so you got to give him credit for that. Of course, Cypher for, you know, what he done and just everything he gave me. Who else? Angie Martinez, not a DJ, but just, you know, a radio personality.
How long were you
in the
with
craft of the interview?
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
she's a great interviewer.
Yeah, she would make artists feel so comfortable, like from the time they walk into the studio. Like I just sat there like, wow. And then you see the biggest artists at the time, like they, you know, Billboard top records, and they're walking in and just showing her so much love and like giving her so much credit for what she does.
I could listen to Angie all day. She has like the dopest radio voice.
Yeah,
How long were you with her?
Working like next to her was like 5 years, but you know, prior to that, I started at Hot 97 shooting and editing video. So I would go in and shoot her interviews, like videotape her interviews and get them back to her before she left at 7 o'clock that same day. And I think she was so like, wow, this kid's a hard worker. Boom, boom, boom. She seen my work ethic. And I would go in there, I wouldn't even speak. I wouldn't talk to the artist, nothing. And she respected that. And then when her producer left, they came like, hey, would you want to help Angie, you know, produce her show? I'm like, of course, because it gets me one step closer to that mic. It gets me in that room. And I could sit next to Angie and just learn. And I stopped like doing the video stuff and just started producing her show for like 5 years, but working with her probably 2 years before that.
So was it weird with her transition to 105 or?
For me, I felt like I was losing like a teacher in a sense, right? So it's like you have your favorite teacher and now they're moving on to a different. So it's like it was more emotional for me, like keeping it 100. I started tearing up, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's good, it's all good." Like she always would remind me, like, "Listen, me moving is me growing, and with me out, this space gives more opportunities for people like you." And I'm like, "Damn," she's like, even though as sad as it was, I still respect the fact that she know her place. Like, yo, I'ma grow, but I'ma also remind you that it's time for you to grow too. Like I gave you as much as all the keys you needed, so now it's time for you to grow. And I think with that transition, it really helped spring me too. So I respect that. I think I'm missing one more person.
Yeah.
It was Flex, Angie, Mr. C, Syph, and DJ Enough too, because Enough is a successful DJ, right? But he created this heavy hitter DJ crew that I'm a part of. Like maybe like 4 years ago or 3 years ago. They wanted me to be a part of it for a while, but it was just a lot of politics going on. But now I'm a part of the heavy hitter DJ crew. But Enough is just such a humble, like down to earth dope person and created a DJ crew with over like probably 100 DJs from around the world. So to come from New York as a DJ and to then create a crew where you're given opportunity and just creating this brotherhood of DJs, I thought was pretty ill. And to do it like around the world, you got DJs in Thailand and all over the place.
I have a funny heavy hitter story.
Suckers.
So I don't know if this dude was like a DJ or intern with the heavy hitters or whatever, right? So when I was in college, my girlfriend was interning, I think, at Def Jam. So she would be at all the events and so on and so forth. And she comes over one day because like we were staying together at the time, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm going to this party, so on and so forth." She doesn't come back till like the next day, right?
Oh man.
So then
I already know what this is.
So then her roommate's like, "Yeah, I think she's with like one of the heavy hitter dudes or whatever." Bro, I was so excited. I was like, "Man, fuck the heavy hitter." Every time
So
it
where
came on the
was she?
DJ.
Yeah, we
Oh no, she definitely was with dudes. Like it went down. We ended up breaking up. It was a whole thing. But yeah, every time I heard it on the radio, I was tired. I ain't listened to Hot
That's
97
funny,
for like
that's
6
funny.
months, bro.
what was it, a Hot 97 heavy hitter?
I don't know. I just know it was
You just
heavy
know it was
hitters.
like a heavy
I just
hitter
didn't listen to Hot 97 for like 6 months.
Yo, Drew.
That's pretty funny. It wasn't me because this was how many how many years ago was this?
Yeah, this was like college was like.
If it was over like
27.
4 years ago, then see,
Oh,
it wasn't
yeah.
me. Okay, good.
Yeah, it was like that leads me to why we brought you here, Drewski.
Right,
See what happened.
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell me something. You mentioned two people that really stood out to me. Number one, Flex. Number two, Angie.
Mm-hmm.
What's the craziest Flex story that you can tell?
Flex. I'm trying to think. Well, when I first Syph started bringing me around Flex, I was so excited, right? I'm so excited. He like tells Syph, "Yo, bring him in the main room, the studio." So I get in there, like, "Oh, I'm gonna meet Flex." He's like, "Yo, sit down." So I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to learn again to spit knowledge." He just starts screaming on me, like barking on me, like, "You think you're gonna be up here for 2 years and get on Hot 97? You got something coming." He's just screaming on me. He's like, "You think?" He's like, "What do you do? Like, what are you doing for Cypher?" I'm like, you know, I'm running behind him to help him. He's like, "You're doing what?" I'm like I run behind him. He's like, "You don't run nothing." He just starts screaming. He's like, "You walk behind Syph." But he's like screaming on me, and I'm like, holy this is not what I expected, right? So I thought like, okay, he's gonna do it, and then he's gonna like laugh it off. But he kept like a straight face. He's screaming on me like 20 minutes straight, just screaming, just saying like, "You think you're gonna come up here and take my job? You will never take my job." But now I'm cool with him, of course. And I look back, I'm like, for him to give me that energy.
Yeah, and the time.
Yeah, at the energy and the time. Even though he loves, of course, screaming. You hear him on the radio, but he has to like actually care about something he screams about, right? So if it's a topic on the radio, but I'm like, damn. I'm thinking it's gonna be something exciting. He's gonna kick some knowledge. He starts screaming at me. Now I'm like in fear, and I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to quit? Like fuck it. But I'm like, damn. He gave me that time, and that's his way of spitting game. Like, I don't think I never seen him do it to anyone else from my time being. I've been there now like 10 years, so it's like now I look at it like something special. I'm trying like that was my own personal experience with Flex, but Flex is nuts. Like he's crazy. We've seen him like diss the biggest artists in the game, like comfort Jay-Z, comfort Drake, comfort Nicki Minaj. Like he's an entertainer at the end of the day. So he remind me like, yo, none of these artists are your friends, and that's his mentality. And I can see he believes that himself because he doesn't care who you are. Like if he has an opinion or he knows that if he comes for you is gonna, create numbers, he goes for it. So, I just respect the fact that he cares about the radio, he cares about ratings, and he really cares about his job and will create something just to get people listening.
Here's the $1 million question. Does he text you in all caps?
Let me see. Nah, I don't think so. That's a good question. I never paid attention. Let's see. Let's see.
That'd be wild. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's just regular.
Yeah, it's regular.
when I was in high school, we used to sit. I went to Don Bosco Prep. We used to sit in front of after school and sit and do have hip hop competitions. Like we would, people would freestyle, and I would do Funk Flex impersonations.
Do you still got it?
Yeah.
All right.
Can we get one? Do we have time for a
Yeah,
flex
go ahead.
impersonation?
Yeah.
Hot 97, Funk Flex in your ear right now. Cypher, don't get gas. I'm focused right now, New York. Let me tell you, drop the bomb on her. Boom! New York City, you know what we're talking about right now? We're sitting with fucking Drewski and Reg right now. We got something serious right now, because we're like two Suburbans and a hearse. Let me cut the music. Cut the music. Bronx, turn your speakers up right now. I'm not playing with you right now. At 8 o'clock, we got that new Drewski mixtape right now. It's in your ears. Hot 97. Let's go to break.
That's the classic flex with his pitches. Like, he'll start screaming and bring
the
it down.
vocal inflections are like, yeah.
But he's such a real dude. Look, so my pops passed away December 5th, right? This
Sorry
year.
to hear that, man.
2018.
Yes, sir.
But like, this is the last text from Flex. So he hit me on the 6th and was like, I promise it will ease up soon, just real hard out the gate, but it'll get better. And then on the 13th, I didn't respond nothing. He's such a real dude. He hit me back. Some days are harder than others, but it will get better. Like, you know what I'm saying? Outside of just work, he don't got to text. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're not friends. But he's such like a team player and such an OG. And he's had experiences where like his mom passed away and stuff. So, for him to even text me,
Take the
and
time,
he's as a DJ, he's someone I still look up to. So it's like, because we were talking about, I think when you met some people,
Stevie Wonder at
like,
the Jordan party.
I'm saying it's still that same feeling, like, wow, like it's crazy.
I'm a
surreal.
journalism nerd, so like when I meet guys like Ariana Huffington, she's not a guy, but or
Right,
like John Avalon, like it's a big deal to me. Like I'll meet celebs and I try my best to like, who I geeked over because I'm a hip hop nerd. When I met Biggs.
Biggsburg?
Yeah, I was.
Biggs, yeah.
I was kind of gassed by I was professional.
Biggs was at a tech event.
Yeah, it was at Collision. That's where I met him at. Yeah.
Oh, that's
he's
cool.
he's making rounds. Like
yeah. I see he's pushing a new artist too, St. John,
Yeah.
out of Queens. Kid St. John was really dope.
Yeah.
They just came
I
up to having
seen a music video he did. Super talented dude.
What artist, if any, did you ever get in the studio that you almost had like a full circle moment, like, oh snap, I remember when I had a girl in the car at this moment, or
and then being with the artist.
yeah.
Probably Jim Jones was one of those artists where like we built a great relationship, and I was at his crib, and I still think like, wow, this is Jim Jones, the person that when Summer in Miami came out, I was with the girl from high school. So Jim is one of those artists and like a super super duper entrepreneur, where just being around him too, like you see his work ethic, and he knows how to keep his image, but he's smart as shit. Like to keep even a career still going to today. Like Jim
Definitely.
is still putting out music, still doing shows. Like it's hard as an artist in hip hop. It's not like rock and roll where the artists
Goes forever.
go for 50, 60 years touring. Like it's hard. So to see Jim still working, and it's like he's one of those artists where I'm like in the studio with him or at his crib or whatever, and it's like, wow, like I grew up listening to Jim. Like
good point, because when I was listening to Dipset, this was like when I was like, you making your own mixtapes
Right.
on like a Sony Walkman on the bus, listen to CDs. This was before MP3 players. I'm old, but yeah, the MP3 players dropped when I was like in high school. So
Right.
like we didn't have and we couldn't afford them. There was like when they first came out, even the cheap ones.
the
was,
small,
yeah, that was like pretty expensive. So we still had the Walkman, Sony Walkman taped together because you broke the handle or latch. I don't know. That's just me.
Scoopy and Reg in studio with Drewski. Drew, what's next?
Well, of course, we're going to continue the DJing stuff. That's my first love, first passion. The movement, brand, and platform is building like crazy, even to the point where I've been, people pitch some TV ideas with the movement. They're like, yo, what you have going on and helping break new artists and the way you go about it, what you're doing, they want to like document it in a way, like shoot it. But that was like the first idea, but then I was presented with a whole nother idea concept I came up with, which is in the works. I can't talk a lot about, but it's looking pretty good, pretty promising. Shout out to Cyndi Lauper, rock star Cyndi Lauper.
Like what?
Yeah, like, so her son, my guy Dex Lauper, he's a rapper, and we've been working closely, and Dex, his personality is like on 1,000. He is, one, the son of a rock star, and two, he's just his own person, and I seen so much in him as far as the music and personality that I thought, yo, you have to be on television, and especially in a day like today where reality shows are what's driving the music as well on social media. I'm like, bro, we got to think of something. So we came up, we threw ideas out there. I got producer friends and writer friends, and right now, we created a concept, and shout out to Cyndi. She's with it. Dex is with it. I'm in. So
if you do a mixtape, I was Red Cafe did the Anita Baker remix years ago.
Okay, yeah.
You got to do Girls Gonna Want to Have Fun remix if you're working with them.
Right, but the thing with Cyndi is she's still his mom, and she hates even like him using her music.
Are you serious?
They have records together, like dope records. Like he's rapping, and she's, because her musical talent is insane still.
Monster, yeah.
Yeah. So, but he sampled one of her records, I think like True Colors or something. And she was like, "We're not putting this out." Like,
are you serious?
Yeah, because your mom, and still he's not at the level where people are like searching for him yet.
Right.
So it's like there's no, she doesn't want it to hurt her brand, like, and it's understandable. All the work
she's
put
still an artist.
in.
She's probably still performing and touring. And
oh no,
she
just. I went to one of her shows at the Garden with Rod Stewart, and it's like still selling out shows, but. She does so much. She did the soundtrack for Kinky Boots Play, and that was on for years. So she got a lot going on, but this is something that she agreed to work with us on, and I think it's gonna be something like
that's huge.
Big. Because being a rock star, and then her son in hip hop, and her just being in that mixes, and she's respected. Like, she comes from New York City. She's come from Queens, so the respect is there already, and the story's there.
She's a legend, man.
Yeah, she's a legend. And once you get to know Dex, you'll see like this kid he's a hip hop rock star in his own sense. And I don't know if he's living up to his mom's, what we see from her and her history, but whatever it is, like, he's a character. Yeah.
So who are you listening to right now? As a DJ, I would imagine you listen to a lot of music. Like, when you're in your car,
I guess so
who are you
much
listening
music. Like right now, I'm sure I got like 6 emails from new artists. As far as like hip hop artists coming out of New York, this kid Lil TJ from the BX. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's like 20-year-old kid. He's got the streets. Like, the young, I DJ for him. I've been to his shows. And these kids know his records like word for word. Like, I could play 5 songs and they know every song word for word. So Lil TJ definitely has like a good, strong following. Who else? There's a bunch. Like, I'm trying to think who really got it. That kid, like we were talking about, St. John, he's good. Big's artist. He's different, creative. He got a good thing going on. If you're talking like street artists out of Jersey, like Al is doing great. Like, people respect him. He got the streets, and he's from Jersey. There's so
Marion Garden.
The kid Party. He got the song with Cardi B. He's doing great. Flip De Niro. He's doing great. He's from Brooklyn. Don Q's, the A Boogies. A Boogie been consistent, dropping music and doing his thing, and he was one of the first artists. Like, when I started my show, I got a show called The New Movement on Hot 97, which is great. He was one of the first artists I brought up before he was even getting radio play, and I just kept hearing about him. So I'm like, yo, come through. And he was so young at the time, and it was his first radio interview ever. So I had him like sitting next to me doing an interview, and to see him grow so much is like that. Inspire me too, to like create, push the movement. Like, wow, we can take these young artists and now they're superstars. And so like A Boogie, Fresher, Designer, these are all like artists and friends of mine. So it's hard, like, even though I'm fans of them, I'm friends now. So I'm like, am I being biased that I always promote them, or do they really
But I mean,
put
that's
out
dope
great
though.
music? Yeah. So yeah, it's so many artists, especially coming out of New York, which I'm happy about and proud about, being a DJ in New York and just having a platform that I'd rather focus on our artists in our backyard and get them, you know, Cardi too.
Definitely.
Like, if you go on YouTube, there's videos of Cardi. Like, I was interviewing her at like a BT Awards, and she just started tearing up. Like, yo, Drewski, thank you so much for always believing in me and supporting me. And it's like, to see that reaction a year later, a month later, and to see the artist grow into, she's a super duper star. Like, it's amazing. And it's like a challenge for me. Like, can we do it again? Can we do it again? And so, yeah, I just want to like break artists or just be a part of that success story.
Yeah. Or,
Sushi or hibachi?
Hibachi.
Yeah, I like that. I like both. However, hibachi is more filling.
Right. I'm not really into sushi. I'm not into like seafood, stuff like that. But
that's good to know.
what is like popping in tech? Like,
Tech right now?
Like, I just named like
It's
5
so
new
much.
artists that are popping in hip hop. Like,
Well, it's so much going on because like I'm in tech, but I'm still into culture. So like one of the biggest things that just happened recently, I hope I don't age the episode, but Spotify just bought Gimlet Media and Anchor.
okay.
So that's basically Spotify going in and letting people know that they're doubling down their investment in podcasts and basically investing in the IP of podcasts.
Wow.
So you have different shows like Deezus and Mero or Two Dope Queens that started off as podcasts, but the IP was able to be taken and like, you know, used for something else. So podcasts could now be turned into, you know, web series and TV shows and like, you know, maybe even movies. We don't know.
Right.
But, yeah. So that's one thing. Definitely anything in the podcasting space. What else is dope in tech? Robotics is fucking crazy. Do you ever watch that show Black Mirror?
No, I'd seen like one episode.
Whenever you get the chance, like I'm gonna pull it up. I wish we have like.
That's where you can like choose which way you want to go, right? Is that
No, they did a show. Yeah, that is it. Black Mirror did a show where it's like you could choose your own adventure, but there was an episode. It's like futurist shit. Like the show is like every episode's different, but they base it on like different tech, right? And one of the episodes was about like a robot that was hunting someone down, but they based it off of a real Boston Dynamics robot.
Oh, wow.
Which is fucking wild. Like if you go to YouTube and type in Boston Dynamics, the robots look scary. Like they're running, they're doing backflips. It's something out of Terminator. It's crazy.
Sheesh.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Terminator. You got me thinking of Sonic the Hedgehog,
Yeah.
Dr. Robot.
Yeah, no, they're running like they run faster than the Terminator robots. They're doing backflips and like I'm gonna pull it up after the episode.
okay.
Yeah, but that's crazy. Facial recognition.
But
tech.
what like how does that benefit us, or you know,
Robots?
What is it?
I mean, they help people out. Like, you know, they're basically looking at it like robots essentially accentuate like anything you're doing. So as a DJ, imagine if you pre-programmed a robot to like scratch. I mean, it's kind of cheating,
Right.
But like, you know, you could do it. Or if you're like, I don't know, you're running a nursing home or something, you don't have to have people picking up and moving the people and hurting their backs.
Right,
Or possibly you could have a robot come and do it. Like, you know, assistance, sort of like
Time for me to
iRobot.
move to Mars.
Yeah. The only thing that bothers me with the robot stuff is that I feel like it takes away work and jobs and for
Like Easy
Yes.
Pass and the tolls.
right.
But then it might create new jobs because now we need people
Someone needs to program
re-
them and
yeah,
repair
basically.
them and
Maybe.
That
Yeah.
type of stuff, drone shit, facial recognition technology in China right now. So they have like a social situation where in China they have facial recognition technology. So the minute you step off the plane, there's cameras basically tracking your face.
wow.
So say you did a crime or whatever, they could basically
They're waiting
pinpoint
for
your last location type of thing.
Don't shoot nobody.
Do you believe that a lot of that technology is like conspiracy theory with the government? And
Oh yeah, that's next level. That's next level shit. It's basically like you don't have any privacy
Right.
at that point. So in China, like if you litter, they know you did it.
But the government's not developing these this technology. It's like someone developing it and then the government's buying it from.
Yeah, because like it's a socialist, it's a communist government over there. So anything you do, the state could pretty much come in and be like, yeah, we're going to use that. They couldn't do it in the U.S. because of our laws, but we've seen how shaky that is lately. So you never know.
Sheesh. It's getting real out here.
Yeah.
Stay in your room, go to sleep.
I litter a lot, man. Like sometimes, like I walk around, it's hella trash on the street. I'll just fuck it, and then
Why are you giving the evidence to people? Hey,
He's
y'all, I litter.
He's putting it out there in case it gets called. He's like,
what's the statute of limitations on littering?
On podcasts for Scoopy and Reg in studio with DJ Drewski.
I was gonna say, speaking of tech, what would someone not know you're into? That if they didn't know you personally and you were just be like, yeah, I'm really into A, B, or like whatever.
In that tech, well, everything I like with music is now, we use all these different type of machines and stuff like that. So I'm trying to think what would be something.
Because someone looks at me and like automatically, like I guess the glasses says computers, but I'm really into MMA, like boxing, MMA, mixed martial arts. I'm really into that sort of thing. You wouldn't know by like
right.
looking at me, but yeah.
What am I into? For fun, I guess like I'll go gambling, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's my only, because my life is so fun, right? Like my job is to go to nightclubs and turn up and party and have the best time. Like if I want you to have the best experience while you're out, right? Because most people that come out to the club, they work 9 to 5, and now this is their break to just escape from that. That's how I look at it. Like they're in the club, they want to escape from life stress, and it's my job, in the environment to create that for them. Me playing the music, the bartender serving them drinks, the hookah, whatever it is like, so I try to make sure I'm having a good time so that energy, translates to the people in the club. So my job is so much fun that it's actually hard to find things to have fun. You got to like really step out of your element.
I get you.
And just do random things. Like I'm trying to think what
I'm gonna randomly start putting you up on tech shit.
Yeah, like shit like that. I'm into. Like I'm intrigued by. Like you brought up the conference. And
Collision.
I'm low key like trying to Google when it goes down so I can go.
May it's Collision conference. Shout out to everyone over there, the Collision team. They're the same guys that do Web Summit in Lisbon and they do Rise in Hong Kong. That's May 3rd to 4th.
That's the one in Canada.
Yeah, in Toronto.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
So that's Cinco de Mayo weekend.
And me and where's Amar at? The homie Amar. We were just at CES in Vegas.
Yeah, I see
you ever been there?
No.
Next year you coming through. Next year I'll make sure you come through.
I go to like random like boat shows and car shows and stuff. Like even at home, I got like two. I got a 1966 Pontiac Catalina and a 1964 Pontiac Tempest, like just chilling in the garage. These are like very expensive cars. I don't even drive. They're just sitting there. But it's like little things like that. I just start, jump on and doing hobbies just because.
Yes, it's popping. Like I'll make sure you come.
Well, that one I always.
The tech parties are like the best parties you'll ever go to.
No,
in your life.
I know.
Yeah,
I see it.
Besides it being money in the room, right?
Yeah, I mean that helps.
And I think you nailed it on the head. Hobby. Coming from the basketball background. Michael Jordan golfed.
Right.
I had Devin Brown on my podcast. He used to play with the Spurs, won a championship with them in 2005. I asked him what was the craziest Greg Popovich story he could tell. Greg Popovich, the coach of the Spurs, and he said he got on a plane and basically came with his golf clubs. And the guy that was setting up them getting ready to get off, he goes, sir, your coach wants you. And he said, Popovich goes, what the hell are you doing with these damn golf clubs? Don't ever do that again, Devin. You know how Popovich is sarcastic. Right. And Devin said, he came from the background where, Byron Scott, who was his coach in the NBA, was an avid golfer. So every coach has their quirks.
Right.
Pop wasn't a golfer. So I guess when you talk about hobbies, car collecting is your hobby.
That's dope.
One of them, like,
Flex got the car shows and everything.
Flex too, it's crazy insane. He hit me up. He was supposed to sell me one of his cars, and then he just never. And then I think I seen someone else I know bought it. I was like, fucking Flex. But
Xbox or PlayStation?
I'm not even into video games. But if I as a kid, PlayStation.
Okay.
But now I don't even play. There's really no time. Like I'm always
Word.
thinking of what's
Same.
the next
Yep.
thing, and like, even if going to a tech event, I'm like, how can I incorporate?
I actually
this
got an
into
idea
my
for you. We
business?
gotta do it off the air, but like I'm about to plug you into
Right.
something.
I'm always, my brain is always going, like no matter where I'm at. I like live Broadway plays, but I go and I'm like, what can I take from this to incorporate into what I do, and how can I bring, you know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate, but it's fun as well. Like
Neef from the Young Guns, Neef Buck.
Oh, yeah, of
a buddy
course.
of mine. He said to me, he traveled so much during the Rockefeller days to go to different places. He enjoyed it as an artist going on tour, but he wants to do it all over again
and just
as just a person traveling.
right.
Can you relate?
1,000%. People always think like, oh, being on tour is fun. You don't have enough time to, experience wherever you're at, right? Wherever you go, there's not enough time to do all that. So even though you get to go there, you kind of
You've
miss
never
out.
been
So
there.
it's like a bittersweet.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I could get to go to Toronto, but then I can't really see the whole city because we only have X amount of time here. So I understand where he's coming from. Like, you go places, but you really like. I said I went to Phoenix, 2 weeks ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get there, 10 a.m. We can eat, shower. The show's at 6 p.m. and then I'm out at 6 a.m. the next morning. So what time
Yeah,
did
you
I
don't
have
have
to
time to
experience? I can go to one restaurant that's probably well known, and that was it. There's not that much time to experience. So you want to go back, especially when you're doing different countries as well. Like,
If you could go back and and visit a country that you toured at, and you could do it all over again.
well, one of my favorite is Japan, and then I went maybe like 4 or 5 times already, and I think because I went so many times, every time I went, I took some time to
A little bit
experience
of
that. So I'm pretty much satisfied. Like as far as like traveling wise and then going to DJ, like the fact that I can DJ in Japan, they don't even speak English and they're rocking out and partying, and I'm DJing there is like enough for me. But then being able to experience the culture and doing it like 4 or 5 times is even better. But that's somewhere, like the first time I went, I was like, I want to go back. I need to go back. And I went back. And even the second time, like, we need to go back and then try this and do this. And I was able to do that. So I'm like,
I need to
satisfied.
go. That's on the bucket list.
Oh,
I
yeah,
haven't
especially
been.
in tech world. They're pretty.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I haven't been to any conferences in Japan. Like, I mean, there was Rise in Hong Kong, but outside of that, like, and then the limitations as far as time. So you touch down in so many meetings. By the time you're wrapped up, it's you ain't really seeing anything.
Yeah.
We gotta
wrap up.
We gotta wrap up.
Yeah.
We could talk all day. Well, anyway, Scoopy and Reg in studio with DJ Drewski. We could talk your ear off. This won't be the last time. And we out.
Thanks for coming on.
Deuce.
Thanks for having me. Make sure you follow me at SoDrewski on Twitter, on Instagram, and get with the movement.
That's it. We out.